Hello, my name is Evelyn Hudson, and I'm the reference librarian for HCTC Libraries. Today I'm going to be talking about introductory searching in library databases such as EBSCOhost and Gale resources. So you might have found this video from our LibGuide for our Research Skills Student Workshop series. The first, of course, being the Introduction to Searching. There are 3 other videos within the series. Those are advanced searching, source evaluation, and citing sources. There is an option each semester to join a live workshop, and you can, if you have any questions, you can interact with me, ask those questions within that live avenue, get some one-on-one assistance, ask questions about specific research assignments that you might have, and you can check the Join a Live Workshop tab within that LibGuide to check for the dates and how to register for those. So within each of these videos, each of these tutorials and workshops, there is a pretest that you take before you view the tutorial. I recommend that you go ahead and take that if you have not already. And then you continue viewing this workshop. Then there is an activity that you can complete. Try it, Introduction to Searching, and each workshop should have some kind of hands-on activity to let you sort of practice with the lesson from that day. And then after you have completed the workshop and the tutorial, I recommend taking the post-test, which allows you to sort of gauge your before and after progress from this workshop. So. Now I'm going to share my presentation. There we go. Introduction to searching. So first we're going to talk about searching our Primo catalog, and Primo is our online library learning or online library catalog, excuse me, and here you'll be able to search for books as well as audiovisual that we have within the library. These include DVDs. We do still retain some VHS, CDs, some audiobooks, and then any other item that we have within the library that's within that catalog. So some genealogy materials, our special collection within the Kentucky Appalachian section, reference materials, you will find all of those within the Primo catalog. In addition to our print items and our physical items, we also have electronic items within the Primo catalog that you can search. So these include scholarly database articles, newspaper articles, magazine articles, some video content, and ebooks. So those are also searchable within the Primo catalog. So if you go to our library homepage, and you can get to the library's webpage by just going to the HCTC website, clicking on My Path, and then the library should have its own tab within that My Path webpage. So we have a Primo search box on the homepage. Primo is also linked from our catalogs and databases page. The way that you understand Primo, especially for physical items, if you're searching, say, with a keyword like Appalachia, you want to find a physical book on Appalachia, you will be able to match what's called a call number from the record that you find in the catalog to the number that is on the spine of the book. This allows you to be able to find a specific item on the shelf as opposed to maybe browsing the shelves and just picking up an item that looks relevant. The catalog does allow you a little bit more customization within your search because you can add these specifics to the search. You can add keywords and author names and creation dates, and you just can't quite get that same customization. Of course, with browsing, you can kind of look to see if it's a newer book. You can see the subtitle and the title and the author's name, but with the catalog, it also includes subject terms, and then it's got the description of the book, and that's all searchable within the catalog. So it's a great tool to use as opposed to just kind of throwing luck to the wind and going out into the stacks, because we have several physical items on those shelves. We're talking hundreds of thousands of books. So the call number, again, that is on the spine of the book on a little white piece of paper that's taped onto the spine. This contains several letters and numbers, and these represent different subjects as well as dates used for organizing materials on our shelves. Most public libraries that you've probably been to, you're familiar with the Dewey Decimal System. We use a different system of organization. We use the Library of Congress classification system. And this is kind of just generally what it looks like. This is the broad organization scheme for that particular classification. So as you can see, it's labeled A through Z, and each letter represents a different discipline. So this is helpful if you do decide to browse. You come in, you just don't want to log into a computer. I understand that it takes time. Some of our computers can be slow. You look at those subjects. We have them on posters on the ends of all of our shelves, and you can just get a general idea of what sections contain which items. And this allows you to sort of more specifically pinpoint what you're searching for, because obviously if you're looking for something on education, you don't want to find yourself in the medicine section. So this is what that call number looks like on the spine. As you can see, this particular one, you've got RT on that first line, followed by a whole number. This is 73. And then that third line is a decimal. So you would read that as a decimal. And in this image, it is decimal point G26. And then that fourth line, if you see that, that is a date. Publication date for that particular item, and this one was 2010, excuse me. So going off of our subjects, the broad subjects in the Library of Congress classification, RT, that is R within medicine, and then that T is a subclass or a subsection of the broader subject. So R is medicine, RT is very specifically nursing within that medicine subject. So the number underneath RT, that whole number, 73. There are two number ranges used, 1 through 120, and that's the entire subclass, and 89 to 120, and these are specifications. So anything past 120 is going to be a specification within a subclass of nursing. So it can get really singular, really granular, granular and specific to what the book is about. So it's worth kind of taking a moment to understand how call numbers are created and why we use them specifically to organize our items on the shelves so that they're easier for you to find. So now we're going to dive into those basic search strategies. Typically, if you're performing a search in a database, if you're performing a search in Google, you're probably either using single keywords, which are important words to the subject that you're hoping to find information on. You're maybe using a creator name, an author name. If you know a title, you might just type that in, or maybe you type in a question. You want to know something about your subject, so you form that as a question. These are typical search behaviors. Boolean operators, these are old school terminology for searching. They're the terms and, or, and not. Databases respond very specifically to the inclusion of Boolean operators. Today, that is very natural. If you're including the words, say within a Google search, Google's automatically going to take that and, or, and not, and it's going to treat it the way that it knows to treat a Boolean operator. And we'll discuss how those affect a search. But first, keyword searching, the best method for discovering your keywords. Again, if you're starting with a question, and it's useful to start with a question because typically if you're searching for something, it's because you have a question about the topic and you want to learn more about it. So you have your research question. You need to identify specific elements of that question. So in this particular instance, our question that maybe we're hoping to write a research paper on is, what effect does violent video games have on teenagers' mental health? So what are the specific elements that are in that question? So we want to find the effect. This is, you know, an actionable result of our next specific element, which is video games. What effect do violent video games have? And then on our last specific element, the mental health of teenagers. So we have three elements here to our question that are going to guide our search: effect, video games, teenagers' mental health. So you can choose to search for those elements individually, one by one, or you can connect them, sort of creating that same question, keeping the question intact, and then just inserting it into our databases in a way that it's going to give you the most relevant information as it understands, because it is a computer program and it's going to take some technical um, finagling, so to speak, to make it work well for you. So you can use those Boolean operators and, or, and not, and that would just look like something: affect and video games and teenagers' mental health. You also, if that particular collection of keywords is not rendering you relevant articles, or it's just not quite giving you what you need, you can take those words and find similar or related terms. Maybe get onto the internet and look up synonyms of those words. Just find, you know, a synonym dictionary or synonym generator and just click the word or type the word in, and it's going to show you similar words, and that might give you a more specific return of results for what you're searching for. So within our databases, there are hyperlinked subject terms or author-supplied keywords. So if you click into an article, you're going to notice these lists of subject terms. Again, if it goes back and you're not finding what you want based on the words that you have found, you can use these supplied keywords to build a new search that might be more specific to what you're really trying to say. So if after all of that you don't have any results, I strongly reconsider or recommend that you reconsider your research question. It's possible that that particular question just, it's not going to work out. There's just not enough information about it, or perhaps, you know, the whole question has already been solved, debunked. There's really no research element to it anymore, because it's like, oh yeah, that's not really an issue. We've already figured that one out. So you're looking for something that is, you know, actively a question that you can do research into, or something that is going to have uh, enough sources for you to actually build an argument or a hypothesis around. So those Boolean operators, I mentioned that they databases treat them very specifically, and this is how that looks. So and is what is called, you know, a connector. It is going to narrow those results that you get when you connect two keywords using that, and that is because it will exclude singular instances where one of those keywords is in a source out there within our databases or on the internet, and it's going to only give you items that have both of those keywords specifically within the fields that are searched. So if those keywords are both available within the abstract, if they're both available within the publisher summary, if they're both available within the author supplied keywords, then it will give you that article, and if not, it will not give you that article. The word or, this is definitely something you would only use if you're really, really trying to explore what's out there, because it is going to give you more results. It's going to balloon your search results because it's gathering everything. It is looking at those singular instances of either or keyword, as well as where they're both together. And then finally, not is another exclusionary Boolean operator. So it is going to reject instances where perhaps those keywords are in the same article, where they're both showing up in the publisher summary, the abstract, the full text, or the author supplied keyword list, or where one of those keywords that follows the not. So in this instance, it's farming, not GMOs. So any articles with GMO specifically is going to be rejected. So now we're going to dive into a little short live Primo demonstration. Primo, again, is that online library catalog that searches our physical items as well as many of our electronic sources. And we will just change the application we're sharing here. Hello. Because we want to look at there. Okay, so this is what the Primo search catalog looks like. And again, if you wanted to find us, and there is a search box available on our home page. Let's see. I'll share from that particular. There it is. Okay. So we'll end our slideshow. Okay, now you are seeing my screen. So this is the library homepage. This is that Primo search box that I had mentioned. So you can choose to perform a search just straight from there. So Appalachia, very basic search. It's the one keyword, very broad term too. Appalachia is a huge region. So it's likely that we're going to have many search results. So it defaults to searching, again, all of those physical and electronic resources. So you're going to get a lot of results back if you just do that search bar search, but you do have the option to go in and tweak those results. You can add additional parameters that will narrow it more than likely. So these 44,000 results, I mean, that's just an obscene number of results that we can't possibly parse through. And again, that keyword is so broad, it's not giving us anything specific that we might want to dig into about Appalachia. So if we go over to tweaking our results, we can look at availability, if it's held by our library. If you're looking for electronic books, I recommend under subject, just clicking that electronic books option. And then, of course, you can find additional subject terms that will narrow that search specific to Appalachia. So there's several that will show up. Not everything that's available out there shows up here, but quite a few, a little bit more broad. You also have the option of choosing some creators. Again, this is not everybody out there who's publishing on Appalachia. This is just a certain number that it allows to show. Library, that is very specific to, because we share a subscription with all of the KCTCS libraries, it will show those, but largely you can ignore that. Location could be important. If you're looking for things at our Lee's library location at Jackson, then you can go in and specify that, as opposed to if you're looking for something within our Hazard location at the Stevens library, you can specify that. There's also the resource type, as I mentioned. There are books, we have audio-visual, we have electronic resources, there's some videos out there, some websites are linked through here, so you can narrow that down as well. The collection, that's specific to, and we'll talk a little bit more about the databases and their subcollections, which is what's listed here. But EBSCOhost and Gale, these are large databases, and within them they contain several subcollections, and that is what's being shown here. The creation date, if you're looking for something, published, say, within the last 10 years, what's the last 10 years? 2010 to 2020, you can choose that, and then language, and then a new items. And I believe that goes back to within the last 3 months. So we tweaked ours by publication date. That cut the results in half, over half. And then we maybe want to find a physical book. So we click Held by Library. And here we're getting a list of books, and that is a much more manageable results list, 158 versus 44,000. Again, this is still very broad keyword. We haven't quite decided what about Appalachia we want to talk about. But again, with this list of results, it's much more manageable to finding something that you might be interested in. And again, you can go into those subjects after you've narrowed down by those other parameters, and you can see what's available within these results and choose to narrow that way. So we've got Appalachian peoples, manners and customs, social conditions. So we'll click on social conditions. And then that gives us 4 results. So here, the top one, let's see, let's go for the newest one, In Search of Appalachia. There's 2, but this one, this is what the detailed record looks like within Primo. It's going to show you the book cover, the title, the author name, publication date, then where it's available. This particular book is housed at our Hazard location at the Stevens Library, and it's in the Kentucky Appalachian Collection, which is separate from the main stacks. And then it gives you that call number. So that's the number. This one, HN79 decimal point A127 D54 2020. That is what you will match to the number on the spine to find the book. And then, of course, you'll notice the title if you have that in mind. It tells you whether the item is in place. If it's been checked out, it will tell you that so that you know that it's not on the shelf. And then it's going to give you all of this metadata or publication information. So the descriptions, the contents, the index, publisher, format. And it also gives you this very useful for the print books in particular, virtual browse. So if you're sitting on your computer, you're not in the library, and you're like, oh, that's an interesting book. I wonder what else is kind of there that's similar to that. The books near it are more than likely going to be similar subjects because of the way we organize our books. So you can kind of browse those, click on them, and see if maybe that is an additional resource that could be useful to you. So another useful feature within Primo, in my opinion, is you can choose to have a account and sign in, and it's just going to be your KCTCS sign-in information. So if you've signed in, it's going to show your name. You can choose to save information that you find within Primo. So you just click this little pin, and that is going to send that to a list that is retained under your account. So if you're not quite ready to check out the book, or you just want to save the information, you've checked out the book, maybe you've already returned it, this is just a good way to save that information for your citation list, or just for your own information for organizing your resources. So you do have the option to add labels, which are basically tags. So you can say, oh, this was for my Appalachian Studies paper, add that tag, and then you can sort different ones. So if you're taking several different classes, you have 2 or 3 research projects going, you want to keep those separated within this list, you can do that using the tags. And then if you've got that list, you can select all, this little 3-button button, and then you can export those to a citation service, so EasyBib, and they will cite those, generate citations for you for those. I recommend double checking those just to be sure, but it could be a simple way to collect the information so you're not typing everything out at once. You can also print the list from that as well. Okay, so that is a general overview of Primo. If you're searching for an electronic source, so we'll go back to our original keyword of Appalachia. So again, we've got those 44,000 results. If we're looking for something electronic, say we wanted an ebook because we can't get to the library right now because of the pandemic, or if you're watching this in the future, there could be many other reasons that you can't come to the library to get a physical book. You can search for those ebooks, and then you just click into an item, and then you're going to find the link under View Online, and that is just going to reroute you to that database where that ebook is housed. And most of our ebooks are available through EBSCOhost. It might prompt you to sign in, especially if you're off campus and you have not yet signed in to any sort of library resource within that window. It will prompt you to sign in using your KCTCS email and password. And that just allows you to view the content through our account, through our institutional account. So you'll notice it says Hazard Community and Technical College. It's going to bring you directly to the detailed record of that item when you click through that link in Primo. So it's going to show you the description, the subject terms that I had mentioned, and all of that publication data. And then it's going to give you links. If the full text is available, it'll give you, whatever availability that is, whether it's PDF or HTML, or in this case, an EPUB full text, then you can just click on that to access the item. Now within EBSCOhost, for the ebook specifically, I want to mention that you can print some pages from the ebook, but you cannot print the entire ebook. Generally, it's about 60 to 100 pages of limitations, and this is because of copyright issues. So I just recommend, ideally keep using it digitally. If you need particularly to use a chapter or submit a chapter for verification of the resource, you can do that, but save those prints, those pages, for when you really need them in the book, if you need them at all. Okay, we will stop doing that. Go back to our presentation. There it is. Now we're going to talk about searching the interdisciplinary databases. So these are the sub-collections within EBSCOhost and within Gale that are going to have a more broad cross-section of subjects. So these include, within EBSCOhost, we have Academic Search Complete, our ebook collections, the Mass Ultra, Master File Premier, Middle Search Plus, Primary Search, and Topic Search. Within Gale, these include Academic One File, Opposing Viewpoints and Context. And then we also have a reference database. This is more for background information for your research as opposed to citing within a research paper. But this is called Credo Reference. And again, these are going to be like encyclopedia type entries. So it's just more for learning about specific topics. But there's not really a lot of secondary type source within Credo. So again, I only recommend it for background for your topic. Now we will dive into a Academic Search Complete demonstration. So we want to stop sharing that. Okay. So to find our databases, including EBSCOhost, Gale, from our library website, which again, you can reach through MyPath from the HCTC homepage. It's going to be under Catalogs and Databases. And then you'll just scroll down to Databases. And there was that Primo link I mentioned. It's also linked on this page. Credo is that encyclopedia database, and then EBSCOhost is where we'll find Academic Search Complete. So as I mentioned, EBSCOhost is a broad collection of sub-collections of databases. So EBSCO contains several sub-collections, including Academic Search Complete, and then more subject-specific collections like Agricola, which is an agricultural-based sub-collection. We have our nursing sub-collections, like with CINAHL with full text. If any of you are going into the nursing program, you'll find yourself using that. Again, our ebook collections, and then we've got ERIC, which is education specific, another encyclopedia database, the Green File, which is more for environmental resources. So as you can see, there are several, and you just got to kind of read the descriptions to find out what's in them and if that might be a relevant sub-collection to your search. But if you're looking for more broad, interdisciplinary, if you're in your beginning college classes, your English 101 classes, something like Academic Search Complete is going to give you sort of a simpler process for searching the databases, especially before you start to really get used to searching within these academic databases. So we will just click on Academic Search Complete by itself, but in the future there are boxes you can check to search multiple databases within EBSCO, or you can search them all. We will search the one. And this is what it defaults to when you access a sub-collection from that page. And this is the advanced search page. So it's going to give you quite a few options from the get-go for establishing your search parameters. So these boxes, that's where you're going to type your keywords for your search. You can choose to, if you have multiple keywords, put them all in one box. You're certainly welcome to do that. You can put them in different boxes, and these are the Boolean drop-down boxes. You can select those if you need to. They default to AND because typically if you're searching two keywords, you probably want them both together, unless you're getting search results back and it's showing you things that you definitely don't want to see. You can backtrack and say, oh, I didn't want this included in the search. This select a field, these are optional, but you can choose to select specific elements within that detailed record, those metadata, those publication elements. You can choose to specify your search to within those elements. Typically, you kind of already know what you're looking for if you use them. For beginning searching, I don't necessarily recommend that you use those. We will dive into that more deeply within the advanced search workshop. But for now, for your basic searching, you would just probably type in your keyword here. So we'll stay with our theme of Appalachia. And then I'm going to recommend that in every database that we have, that you click the full text box. It will be somewhere on that search page. Here it's under Limit Your Results. It's also available from the search results page where you've got those tweak your results things or refine your results. There's always going to be a full text box. And by checking this, what it allows you to do is to only see what we have as a full article, as opposed to just a record where the article is not available. Because we do have those records within our databases that we don't have access to the full article for. There's different reasons for this. A lot of it is due to licensing with the journals or with the publishers. A lot of our medical content, there is what's called an embargo period. So an article gets published and we have to wait anywhere between 6 months to 18 months before we get the full text of that article, but we get the record immediately upon publication. So it's just helpful to know that if you click that full text box, it might save you some frustration. You find a good article, but we don't have access to the full text of it. I know that can be super frustrating. I remember in college coming upon that myself quite often. So we're going to perform our search. Again, we had the one keyword. We didn't select any fields, Appalachia, but we did check that full text box because we are wanting to be able to read the articles right now. You know, our paper's due tomorrow. We might have procrastinated a little bit too much, so we need to be able to read this tonight and get this done. So we want to check that full text box. So this is what the search results page looks like. You'll see you've got your list of results based off of our Appalachia. We've got about 1,800 results. That's not bad. Again, this is an interdisciplinary database, so it's got a lot of broad topics in it. There's also some video content. You cannot really manipulate the video results very much. There's not a great collection of videos. We do have a subscription now to Films on Demand, and you can find video content through that. So again, I mentioned being able to change your results, refine your results from the search page. You can do that here on the left side of your screen. You can add, say, you want scholarly peer-reviewed journals because this is for a college research paper. They want you to have those peer-reviewed sources. And then, you know, our publication date. Again, we want to read something from within the last 10 years because a lot's happened in 10 years. So that brings us down to 750 results. There's some other limiters that you can apply, including subjects, publication, again, and some of those industry terms. So we want to click on, let's see. Capitalizing on distinctiveness, creating West Virginia for a new economy. Actually, we'll click on this one because I want to talk about the different types of full text. So we found an article title that kind of looks relevant to what we want to maybe write a research paper on. This is the detailed record, as you recall, from the ebook, which again was mostly EBSCOhost based ebooks. All the detailed records within EBSCO will look like this. So you've got the title, you've got your author names, the source. So this is if it is in a book, if it's within a journal or a magazine or a newspaper, it's going to show you the source of that. And then you've got your document type, your subject terms, which are linked. As I mentioned when we talked about selecting keywords and creating a search query, that if you are in a database and you're looking at a detailed record and your keywords aren't really coming up with what you want, you can use those subject terms that maybe are just kind of more closer to what you want to talk about, and you can click on that and create a new search from those. And then the abstract, I recommend reading the abstract. This is going to give you a better idea of what the article is about, if it's actually going to be relevant to what you need before you open up that article. And maybe it's not really what you wanted, so you've read a whole article that you really didn't need to read for the class, when the abstract would have told you, oh, this is not relevant, or hey, this is useful, you should go in and read further. And it's going to give you those affiliations. If they're employed by a particular university, they'll have that listed there. So if you see, there's there's three types of full text, including the ebooks. But HTML full text, PDF full text, and then that EPUB full text that we saw on the ebook detailed record. That's going to be specific to the ebooks, and that's just basically, an image of the ebook text. But with the articles themselves, if we go back to magazine articles, newspaper articles, scholarly articles, your typical resources that you're probably choosing for your research papers, HTML and PDF are going to be the dominant types of full text. Not every item will have both. Hopefully they have one or the other, because again, if they don't, then you don't have access to that article. It's not helpful to you. But HTML, that is the full text of the article in plain text, so it lacks any of that formatting that in a print publication where it's got, color, and it's got a specific font, and it's got images embedded in it, and it looks, visually interesting. HTML takes all that away. So this is literally just the text of the article. And this can be useful, particularly if you are using a screen reader type device. If you need to have the article read to you, or if you prefer to have the article read to you, the HTML is going to give you the option for that. And this can be very useful for accommodating certain needs. Also, if you're copying and pasting from HTML is going to give you that plain text without the formatting that's going to mess up your paper. You have to go in and change it back. It's really, annoying. You can copy and paste from the HTML without having to really worry about that. The PDF, however, also has its benefits. If you are needing to print the article to take home, because you don't have full access to the internet, you're coming onto campus to find these resources, print them out, take them home, and read them, and then write your paper. I recommend finding articles with PDFs, because those PDFs are going to print so much easier for you. Again, it's got all that formatting because it was formatted for publication. So it's going to keep all of your text and any images that are available right where it's supposed to be. It's not going to squish it like printing from, your browser. Sometimes you get like where 2/3 of the page is white and then all the text is squished over on the side. The PDF eliminates that problem. Just make sure when you open that PDF that you're printing from within the PDF viewer. So it's going to give you a little print option as well as a download option. But again, if you're printing, you want to print from the PDF viewer. And this is also going to give you the original paginations, so those original ranges for your citations, that is going to be on the PDF, and which is also a useful little feature of the PDF. So again, everything is formatted as the publisher intended. Nothing moves when you're printing. This is definitely the preferred form for printing. If there is no PDF, there's only an HTML, you can choose to copy and paste that full text into a Word document and then print. But I do not recommend printing from the browser within HTML pretty much ever. It's always going to look a little funky to print from the browser unless there is a embedded print function on a web page. Typically, it's just not going to look great. So also within the databases, you've got these little tools. The most useful one is going to be the Cite tool. So if you click on that, you'll see different citation styles. Your instructor is likely going to recommend a specific style, and this is probably going to be APA, American Psychological Association, or it's going to be MLA, the Modern Language Association. So the citation generator essentially gathers all of that citation information for you, puts it in approximately the right location, and then you can just copy and paste that into your works cited list. Just make sure that you're retaining the formatting, because you want to retain where the italics are. And then also make sure that you double check that citation against what your instructor has told you is correct. Sometimes the citation generators within the databases are not correct. Sometimes they're not updated. There is a new edition of APA and MLA out currently. So they might not be updated to reflect that particular new edition that your instructor is preferring. So make sure that you always check those. Really, the biggest perk is having that information copied without having to type everything out again. But you still have to do your due diligence with the punctuation and capitalization, because they're not always correct. Okay, now we're going to go back to our PowerPoint presentation. So now we're going to talk about interlibrary loan, and this is an in-house service that we offer to students, staff, and faculty. Um, Basically what it is it allows you to borrow physical and electronic items from participating libraries pretty much in within the state of Kentucky, some from outside of the state of Kentucky. We have some participating partners who are not within the state. So this really expands the access to items that you have. Um, there's just some particular rules around interlibrary loan that you need to be aware of. So to find the form to request an interlibrary loan from our library webpage, you go to Services for Students. And then it's going to be a list of the services, and interlibrary loan has got its own little summary, and then it's got a hyperlinked interlibrary loan service. And that's going to take you to a form that allows you to submit the title and the information about the item that you need. Just make sure before you submit your request that you are actually searching within our catalog, within our databases. It's possible maybe we don't have an item in print, but we have it as an ebook. So just make sure that you're really doing your due diligence in searching for the item, and we're more than happy to help you search for that. In fact, I'm pretty sure that those library staff will perform that search for you before they submit that request. You can order books, journal, and magazine articles and audio visuals that we do not have. Just please be aware there's a limit of 5 requests per student a week. Be mindful of costs and staff time submitting these requests. And then also we cannot request textbooks. This is a pretty common problem. We don't keep textbooks in the library. We don't keep them on the shelves. It's too expensive to order for classes each semester. And the same goes for participating libraries. It's just too expensive for them to keep that up. So we do not request textbooks. We also cannot request an entire academic journal because then we would just have to outright buy it. You can't just borrow a whole journal. It goes against the licensing agreement of the publishers. And then items borrowed must be returned in a timely manner. This is for physical items, of course. If you're borrowing an electronic item, it typically comes as a printout and it's yours to keep. But physical items must be returned. If they are lost or damaged, you have to remediate with the lending institution. So there could be potential fines, fees, and then you have to make sure that you pay those out to that lending institution. If you need the item longer than what they circulated it initially, so for amount of time they said you could borrow it the first time, if you need it longer, they have to approve that renewal. We do not have control over that. So just be aware. And with that said, that is the end of my presentation. I do encourage you to go and do the active learning activity that follows this on that LibGuide, the Let's Try It activity. And I will show you again where to find that. So on that LibGuide page, again, you've got the pretest as the first, and then this will be the video recording of this presentation. And then this will be the linked button, Try It Introduction to Searching, click here. You will just click on that. And that's going to take you to the activity that is best suited to practice what we've talked about here. So, with that being said, that's all I've got for you for this particular workshop. If you have any questions, I highly encourage you to contact us, either drop in. We are open currently Mondays through Thursday, 8 to 4:30. We have our online chat service. So when we're online, you can do a live chat. You can text or email when we're not online, or even when we are and you just want to send that text or email as a preference, you can do that. You can contact us over the phone. Our contact information is on our website. Oh. Looks like my connection is poor. Okay, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, complete the additional activities, and we will continue this in our next workshop. Thank you. Okay.